And we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Kind of impromptu. You probably got the notice about an hour and a half ago because it's a late night for me. My little girl, who was just in here, kept me up for about an hour and a half from 3 to 4:30. And I meant to set the timer on this on this live stream a while back and didn't get a chance to. Then I went to work and totally forgot about it, to be honest. So I'm back here and I got just great stuff to talk about today. So what is this topic about? Well, obviously I said the Meg. As you know, my wife's name is Megan. So we're going to sit here and talk about her for 2 hours. No, I'm kidding. I would never do that. And plus she's listening. The other one that I thought about, well, maybe I should just talk about the movie, that I saw years ago and have a few thoughts on, but that's really boring too. And I think some people know what it is already. I see a few people in here who have been asking for this. And yes, if your hunch is correct, I have the actual Meg right here. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. I've had we talked about this just prior to going live. When I did my 6,000 sub celebration a few months ago, I did a poll. I said, who do you guys want me to bring on? And there was a few, big channels, but one I heard was your name. And over the past couple of months in my live Q&As is, hey, Matt, did you see the Meg's review on this? Did you see the Meg's review on this book? Did you see the Meg? I was like, no. And I remember my good friend, Christopher Nelson, asked me about it. And I was like, no, I haven't seen her. I need to. Oh, here comes part 2, folks. Come here. Come here. Say hello. I have twins. Okay. Give me a kiss. I love you. Night-night. This one loves the camera there, Mama. If one got to kiss me, the other one gets to come kiss me. The other one kissed me off camera, folks.
It's only fair.
That's only fair. That's right. That's right. Got to have daddy kisses there because they know they're going to be stinkers and someone's going to wake me up. The first one with the dark hair, 3 to 4:30 this morning. Up. So, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, right? But anyway, yes, I tricked you with the thumbnail. I sure did. I made it cryptic. So if you're on here, that's great. You can go ahead and spread it and tell your friends. But it's just so good to have you because so many people, and I've been watching you only for a few months because that's when I found out. I had no idea. And usually, and I'll tell you why. If I would have caught on, maybe I would have caught on a few months last year. But when I was doing the last few months, it was basically just a bunch of, there you go. There's another one. Brian Borg, 2 excellent reviewers. There you go. Yes, she did. When we talked about that, look at this. I think these all Meg fans here. These are all Meg fans on my channel here. Okay, awesome. Glad to see she brings in the viewers. No, we're going to talk about that, Brian, because that's why she's on this podcast.
Contentious Jedi opinions.
That's right. Where were you years ago when I trashed the novel? No, but I remember that I can't remember where I was because I got interrupted by all these love and affection towards you here now. But I remember my good friend Chris had told me, he said, yeah, do you know who that is? I said, no, I don't. And what was going on by that time, usually I'd look up, when I review a book, when I do an overview, I look at other people's reviews because I want to know what people have to say, what other people have to say. But by that time, I was already done. I was on the run from Fate of the Jedi on. I'd already watched my Fate of the Jedi reviews, and I just stopped watching channels because when it got to the comic books, I knew what I wanted to say. And I think I found like 1 or 2 people reviewing those legacy books, and I was done. So, okay, hold on. Just because it's Chris, we'll jump in on this one. Ask her to show off that amazing art print in the background. It's amazing from Celebration 2020. What is he talking about? Is it the picture in the back?
It is. I was trying to reorganize my room before we started, but that's just there. It's huge.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there she is. Okay. Here, I'll lift her drawing. Wow. Wow, that is incredible. Incredible.
I got it back from the frame shop last weekend, so I haven't hung it up yet. It's just been back there.
Chris is a collector of everything, and so that's why he's got a keen eye for, like Thrawn, he has a keen eye for artwork.
Yes.
So, and I don't know if you watch Chris's channel, but he did a review, and Chris, I think I commented on this. He has some of the old bookstore ads, the pop-up cardboard ads, and he had that hanging ad that spun around, Chris, with the R2D2 and C-3PO in the middle for I think it was Last Command. I want to say my Walden books had that. I remember seeing stuff like that, but yeah, that is a beautiful art print. And by the way, I just noticed you're wearing one of my favorite characters, Lando Calrissian.
I am. It's not Billy D. It's Donald Glover as Lando, but you know what? I love him anyway. So
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I love Lando. Period. Have you? I'm getting way off topic. Have you read the L. Neil Smith Lando Calrissian trilogy?
I have, but it was like years ago. I want to return to those and the Brian Daley Han Solo adventures, just because I remember them being like fun, but also like a little bit like weird, but in a fun way.
They are a little weird. They are a little weird from time to time, especially Lando's maybe. But they are very fun. And that the L. Neil Smith trilogy made me a huge Lando Calrissian fan, because before then, he was kind of always the side character or part of the B story. And ever since I read those books, I was like, he can carry his own, man. He is such an interesting character, and I absolutely love him. I wanted more Lando. It's one of the reasons why Black Fleet Crisis I love so much. But okay, it's by Jerry Vander.
I think Okay, so I think it's by, I don't want to get his name wrong, Jerry Vanderstelt. He's done a lot of like Luke and Leia and Vader illustrations, and I don't know, I guess probably like Chris, when I saw the stuff that they had released for the Celebration art show, like I feel like the Ahsoka and the big Yoda print were really popular, but like I couldn't stop thinking about that. So I got it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It really is. A good call, Chris, for calling it out there. I couldn't see back in the background there, so I didn't even know what it was. But anyway, so I wanted to ask a few questions, and I know a lot of other people wanted to know this about you, but how did you get into the expanded universe?
Yeah. So my first memory of Star Wars, I know I watched it as a little kid in elementary school, but I got to see the special edition trilogy in 1997 in theaters, and I was like a preteen at the time. So I remember coming out and being like, what happens next? And my dad's like, I don't know what happens next. So my mom's like, oh, there's books. So I think I read The Truce at Bakura by Kathy Tyers, and then I read The Krytos Trap by Michael A. Stackpole, which I didn't know was in the middle of the series. Wow. And from there, I just kept like reading the Bantam era stuff until the New Jedi Order started releasing, at which point I was like reading those while they were released. I read all the Clone Wars stuff. I started to read Legacy of the Force, but I got to Sacrifice, and I got so upset that I didn't finish the series. And then like after that, I would read like sporadically. So whenever Timothy Zahn had a new book out, I would get it. I read I've always been really interested in the original trilogy, and so like those characters. So I would read anything set around there. And then like once the expanding universe got turned into Legends, and we got the new canon, I was like, okay, so I was reading the new canon stuff. But what really started me on this, I don't know, review journey was after my sister and I saw Rise of Skywalker. We were like, we were just like talking about it afterwards. We both didn't like it for various reasons. And I can't remember if it was me or her that was like, weird that they copied bits from Dark Empire. And I was like, yeah, of everything to have happened, I would not have expected like a reborn emperor. So then I thought, it'd be really fun to reread those like 90s eras books. And so I did that last year. And I think there was a part of me that wasn't sure I was going to be able to read them all. It was like I'd read one and start the next and be like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to finish this, but I'll keep going. But I guess like actually making reviews is a big motivator, and like that actually motivated me to keep going. So now I'm on to the new Jedi Order, and we'll see where I go from there.
Yeah, and I want to get to some of your reviews in just a minute. But I want to go back here because I'm taking notes as you were talking. I hope everyone else is taking notes at home, by the way. So are you saying that your parents read Star Wars?
My parents didn't, but my cousins did.
And so your cousins were the ones that told you?
Yeah. So I think probably what happened was my mom like asked them, because they were older than me, like, hey, they got any Star Wars books? And then so that's how I got my 2 starting points. But then my cousin, he gave me like the Thrawn trilogy and some of the other ones. And yeah.
down on your copybook now. Yes, I am. I'm taking. If you don't know, you maybe have seen this before on other interviews I did. I did have a notepad and I was writing off. It looked like I was maybe checking my phone or something, but I'm writing things down because people will say things actually in the middle of an interview. I'm like, oh wait, I want to do a follow-up question on this. I have 3 follow-up questions on or follow-up comments / questions. One of them is, okay, so Rise of Skywalker got you out. It's weird because a lot of people say Last Jedi turned them off. What were your thoughts on Last Jedi?
Interesting. Yeah. So I felt sort of, there were parts of The Last Jedi that I really liked and parts that I didn't like. And then sometimes the parts that I liked and the parts that I didn't like were like the same thing. I'm a real big, I love Luke Skywalker. So it was hard for me to connect the Luke we saw in The Last Jedi with like the Luke, I don't know, that I built up in my mind. But at the same time, I really loved a lot of those scenes on Acto and on the island and stuff. So I don't know, like Rise of Skywalker, I would say was like, but that was like really the thing that I don't want to say killed it for me, because I'm still excited about new canon, but it was sort of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how bad that was.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've probably heard JJ's quote now, my lesson learned from doing Star Wars, we need to plan out more. And you're like, you didn't plan it out? It's like, this is the episode 7, 8, and 9. You think you'd plan that out? And I got another follow-up to a follow-up before I go back to the last follow-up.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. But I think one of the things, and see, you're the one, I don't watch the new canon, I don't read the new canon. For me, this was Star Wars growing up to me. And these books, these comic books, this is the reason I love Star Wars, not the movies anymore. The movies were, prequels, and of course the original trilogy, great stuff, fun stuff. But what kept me a hardcore Star Wars fan was all this back here, over there, up there. That's what kept me. And this was the story that I treasured. And if they said they were going to get rid of it, and everyone knows this on my YouTube channel, so I'm just retelling this. As you know, I didn't rage quit. I just said, well, I think I'm done. Yeah, I think I'm done. I remember that first video I did, said, I think I'm done. Like, I was like, I couldn't believe I was saying that, but I was realizing this is why I like Star Wars. And if they're not going to do this story anymore, then yeah, I think I'm good. And what it is you grew up reading the expanded universe's Luke, which makes much more sense, springboarding from Jedi. So does Han, and I've had this conversation with other people, but they felt Han would never leave Leia. If the times got tough, no, that was the whole purpose of them. He was a loner, and then by Jedi, it was all family to him. He had a home now. He would never leave Leia. In the expanded universe, they have this beautiful, love. They have some rough times. New Jedi Order, one of them.
Oh yeah, especially Hero's Trial, like James Lucino's duology.
Yes. And of course, that I think it's just a great scene, star by star, when Han is finally back, and another tragedy hits the family, one worse than anything, and really hits Han.
Yeah.
And then it hits Leia, of course, for obvious reasons. It's one of my favorite. In fact, folks, when I said Star by Star, I don't know if I talked about. I think I did talk about that scene where they find out son's dead, and Leia's just, she can't say anything. All she can do is look at Han and just whisper Anakin, and Han knows immediately. I mean, it's just a great scene. It's a powerful scene. But anyway, so I was wondering, probably because if you read Luke in the expanded universe, you're like, yes, this makes sense to me. This is how Luke would be. One of the things, and I'm sure you may mention this too, is one of the things that I love about Luke. Luke becomes super powerful, right?
Yeah.
The end of the Bantam era.
He's OP.
Yeah, but the thing is, starting with New Jedi Order, instead of just Bantam tried to put him in a situation that would, hinder him, weaken him. Children of the Jedi, Barbara Hamley has him go through everything. So he burned himself out in the Force, so he's kind of weak now. Then she put him on a planet that if you use the Force, it makes a storm that could kill people. Okay, anyway, they're just trying to find ways to contain Luke's power. But in Del Rey, they said, no, it's not his power. He is powerful, but he has an outright fear of falling to the dark side. So when he should push, he could have ended the Vong War very first book. But no, he's hesitant.
Yes.
He doesn't want to go in the aggressive, and he's he pulls back too much. It's almost it's a fear of going to the dark side that, oddly enough, comes from Dark Empire.
Yes, yeah.
Because that was too close to the edge for him, and he ever since then he's never, or how it's kind of portrayed, he's never wanting to go back, but he's always playing it safe. And you're like, Luke, you need to snap out of it, buddy. But that's a great way to say no, because he wants to talk to the Vaughn, maybe negotiations. Same thing with the Legacy of the Jedi. He's wanting to talk to Jason and kind of reason with him and give him several shots. It's like that parent that keeps saying, if you don't do it, but you're like, no, how many times are you going to tell me no? And Luke has to wait to the very end before it's too late. And I don't know if you know this from the authors, but they were trying to figure out a way. The reason why Sacrifice ended the way it did is they couldn't find a reason why Luke just wouldn't end the whole thing.
Yeah. It was like, ooh,
yeah, go ahead.
Sacrifice. It was like, well, of course, I haven't gotten to Legacy of the Force yet, and I only got what was that?
I'm not saying anything else, but the reason why I know that I'm saying Sacrifice because you went to Sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
But Troy Denning told me that the reason that they did that, because they couldn't think of a reason why Luke wouldn't end it by now.
Right.
And they're like, we're running out of reasons here. And then someone said, what if we kill off so-and-so? Now, the thing is, they have sworn a pact. They will never say who it was that suggested it, because fans can be a little vindictive. And it wasn't that person wanted to do that. And then the whole room got silent because they knew that was the answer. But they also knew fans were going to hate them. And what was a little, and Troy Denning says it was a mistake. They didn't tell Timothy Zahn until 2 months before its release. Mm-hmm. And he said that was something he wishes he could do over again. So that was a shame for that one. But I want to go back for one more thing, folks, and then I'm going to let Meg do all the talking here. But one of the things that I'm doing right now on our website, folks, is I'm doing a series called Beyond Thrawn. For years, I've always suggested when people get in the EU, read the Thrawn trilogy. But then someone says, hey, what other books would you suggest read the Thrawn trilogy? I was like, that's a great question. In fact, I should stop saying the Thrawn trilogy. I should be asking, what era are they interested in?
Yeah.
Because you have the Old Republic, you have the Clone Wars, you have the prequels, you have, if it's a child, maybe there's some good children's books that can introduce them. So I've been doing different ideas. One of them was Truce of Bakura, because it picks up the day after Return of the Jedi, where Luke is waking up and going, ow, ow, Yeah. And I think you just said that was the first book you read. Is that correct?
It was either that or Krytos Trap. So it was definitely like the first one of the first two.
I think that's a good way to get involved. I think that's a good book to get into the expanded universe with, because you know the movie. You've seen the movie, you know it. So it feels like, oh, great, this is the next day. What happened next after that? And it kind of takes off from there. At least I like Kathy Tyers.
I have a soft spot for her too, because I feel like a lot of, especially the Bantam era authors, but some of the later ones as well, I first encountered them through Star Wars. And then that led me to seeking out their original fiction. They're not licensed work. So Kathy was one that I ended up finding from used bookstores, all her other Bantam books. I got one signed by her. And I really have a soft spot for her writing.
Oh, I would love to meet her. She is very high on my list. Very high on my list of oh shoot, she may be top now. I'll have to make look at that list again, but she may be at the top now because I like Kathy Tyers, and folks have heard me say this before, but she could have played it safe, and she never does. She goes a different route.
Yeah.
When she said Truce of Bakura, just do another Empire battle, right? You could have done that. Everyone would have been happy. But no, she said, you know what? No. It's going to be different. They're going to have to make a truce very early with the Imperial fleet here against velociraptors with ping pong battles that shoot lasers and suck your soul into a machine. Bravo. Bravo, Kat. I mean, honestly, she went a different route. And to be honest, there weren't that many books when Truce of Bakura came out. So she could have done an Empire versus Rebellion again, and we would have just loved it. But she said, no, I'm going to go a different route. She's done that with her short stories. Balance Point, I thought had some good moments in it. Some of my favorite, a lot of good moments in the New Jedi Order came from Balance Point. So I really want to talk to her because she is just, in my opinion, she went a different route on different ways and just saw things from a different perspective. I don't have the imagination or creativity maybe that she does when coming up with a story, because every chance she had, she could have played it safe and she bunted, but got on first, or something. I mean, she did a really great play and it paid off.
Yeah, I think this is really dating. I think I talked about this in the review, but when Balance Point came out, she appeared on the boards.theforce.net, the Jedi Council forums, and for months afterwards, she was answering questions. She couldn't say anything about like upcoming plot events, upcoming books, but she talked a lot about Balance Point and her stories for the Star Wars Adventure Journal and Truce of Bakura. And she said that she really likes to take her favorite characters, see like how I'm not sure if I'm putting this right, how much they can endure and like how that develops and changes them, which is, I remember people being really upset with what happened to Leia in the book. And in rereading, I was really upset, but I could also see where she was really showing like how much Leia has grown at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, let me pause here. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Get it out of your system. I have her on. Big deal. I'm kidding. I'm super excited folks, too. Yes. And Chris, it's another great point here. Her source book. I mean, everything she does. I'm not. It's funny because I'm like that with a few authors that not many people. I think she's very underrated in the expanded universe. There's a few other Bantam authors I really like and I think are underrated too, because they weren't part of the Del Rey era and did really good. But yes, Tyers did a bunch of great stuff. Who is this? All right. So, anyway, but yeah, I want to backtrack again because I have more questions here. Your sister, does she read?
She does. She lives overseas. So she lives in a country, I don't want to like, what is it, dox her or whatever, but she lives over in a country where English is not the main language. I don't
think listening a country is doxing. I live in the US, folks. So does she.
Yes, I live on the East Coast. She lives overseas. And she has sent me pictures before whenever she's able to make it to an English language bookstore, and she'll have like her favorite, historical fiction, like history books, nonfiction. She'll be like, and then I got 2 Star Wars books. She really was big on the prequel eras. So she read a lot of stuff about Obi-Wan and Anakin and Qui-Gon. She read all the kids' books and then I think also the adults' books as well. So I felt like, we definitely had like different eras we focused on. But both really like Star Wars.
That's cool though. That's really cool. My brother and I, when we first got into Star Wars together, and so we were reading, and to be honest, I was getting a little jealous because he was ahead of me. And I started reading, and I introduced it to him, and he borrowed my Thrawn books, and then he bought his own copies and started reading more. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm already on that book." I said, "You are?" "Oh, I need to get," because I was embarrassed because it was my world that I was sharing with him. And then he moved off to college and went, "Oh, he's not reading anything. I'm going to catch up and beat him." And when he got home, he read a little bit, but then next time he came back from college, there were just even more books and more stuff. And he eventually got out of it. Now, he wanted to get back in. He read a few books, I think, to kind of finish off the Bantam era, and said, "There's just too many," and tapped out. But I was like, no, take your time. That's the good news.
Yeah.
They're here. They're not going away. They're not growing right now. So now's the time to catch up and read. It's great. I want to ask you, you do a lot of reviews. Your reviews are very in-depth. They're very focused on the story plot. You take the time, if I can break this down here, you take the time, you break down the story plot first off. Mm-hmm. And then you go in section by section and talk about, here's what I liked, here's what I didn't like, here's what I think worked, here's what I think didn't work, and why. I like the way you structure your reviews, because I know a joker who just throws it out there. And the thing is, folks, the reason, and I've gotten a few questions, though a lot of people know my channel by now, know me. I was never going to do just a regular book review because I couldn't think of a different way to do it from everyone else. But you have a nice structure set up, and it is interesting how you kind of give us the best of both worlds. It's not just you just telling, it is telling the story a little bit, but at the same time, then you start breaking down pieces and like, hey, let's talk about this section. Let's talk about this section. Do you write these out, or is this just like up here the whole time?
I definitely take notes while I'm reading. I go back and forth between reading the ebook and reading the physical book, because I have the physical book, and then usually I get the ebook from the library. So I'll have a Google Doc where I'm just sort of like a running commentary as I read. And sometimes it's just like I just finished reading Emissary of the Void, which is a serial 6-part story by Greg Keyes, which is coming, I think, 2 Sundays from now. But when I was taking notes, there was just one note that said bad romance. So it's not always like, sometimes I have to stop and think like, what did you mean here? Yeah. But then I will fully write out my intro and a lot of times my conclusion. But then the rest is just going off my notes. And I usually don't fully put it into sentences until I'm editing it and trying to write up my Goodreads review.
Yeah. It's and it's funny because I'll have the same thing. I write on these little notepad. I have a billion of these little notepads, so I'll write on them. And I do write out my notes. I do my reviews and everything. I look back over things, and I sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying, and then I'm afraid I'm going to butcher someone's name. You speak every name with confidence, by the way. And me, I usually go Kickster, Flipster, Kitster, whatever his name is, because I totally go blank, and I'll have to redo the whole review because I can't remember how it's said, and then I get raked over the coals if I. And the thing is, back when I was a kid, I read these books when I was younger. This is no excuse, but I wasn't paying attention, and so words like Bakura, I switched the R, and I used to call it Trusa Baruka for the longest until someone. It was past college, or maybe in college. Someone said, "Trusa, what?" I said, "Bakura." He went, "You mean Baruka?" I said, "No, it's Bakura." He went, "No, it's not." And I said, "Yes, it is." Look. He went, "Oh, it is Bakura." Gee, Bakura. And so and then that one and the other one that I misread all the time was doggone it, from Zahn's trilogy. What is his name? Talon Card. I called
Talon.
I called him Karad. Talon, is that how you say?
It's Talon, and then it's Card.
I still call him Talon. I know there's no E. I know. But the thing is, it just for me, and this is back, I didn't listen to any audiobooks. That's what's wrong with me. But I will still call him, I don't call him Talon. And I used to call him Talon Karad for the longest. And then I realized, oh, it's just Card.
Well, apparently I've had this pointed out in comments. I also never listened to the audiobook, at least for Heir to the Empire, until after I did my review. And I had no idea how you pronounce the Mad Jedi Master's last name until I listened to the audiobook. And all I can say is, like, I would have never phonetically guessed. I was calling him Chaboth. And according to the audiobook, it's Sabayoth.
Yeah. And I used to call him Sabath back in the day. So, and in fact, I still saw him. I know it's Sabayoth, but I probably said Sabath back in the day. But and I also probably said, I don't care if I got it wrong. There are, I'm going to pick up some of the questions here. Megan, your review, sometimes you mention non-Star Wars books of authors. Are you a big sci-fi fantasy reader? Do you know any authors before reading Star Wars books?
Yeah, I read a lot. Well, okay. When I was younger, I read a lot of science fiction and fantasy. I feel like I read less now, just because a lot of those are like door stoppers, and I don't have like the I read a lot of books, but I just feel like I can't commit to ones that are like 800 pages anymore. But how I found a lot of the authors, their other books, was through their Star Wars books. So like Barbara Hambly, I read Children of the Jedi and Planet of Twilight. I was perhaps one of the very small group of people who actually really liked those and liked Callista. So that led me to searching out her fantasy books, and to the point that like she right now is writing a historical mystery series about a freed Black man in the 1800s in America. And every time a new one comes out, I get it because they're great.
That's awesome. And to be honest, that's where a lot of authors, that's why they do these Star Wars books, so they can promote, because they know people are going to read their other stuff. Me being a big fan of Kevin J. Anderson, I do read some of his other stuff. I have. And everyone does that. I mean, Michael Stackpole, it's a boon for him too, because a lot of people love his writing and they follow some of his other books here. Here's Small Time's comment. Both of you have genuine love of Star Wars. Don't put out clickbait. It's appreciated. Well, I mean, to be honest, I didn't mention she was coming on. I just put a picture of a shark. So that's kind of clickbait there. Small Time, but I appreciate that. Let's see. To be fair, I didn't read that a ton when I was reading my books in the early days. I doubt we're the only ones. Which on mispronouncing things?
Probably. I still mispronounce Kype Durin's name. I think it's Kip. I can't do that. In my head, he's Kype, and that sounds better than Kip.
Shut up. You call him Kype. I never called him Kype.
I actually, like, after I found out it was Kip, I messaged my sister, and I was like, and I just spelled it out, and I said, how do you pronounce this? And she was like, Kype. And I was like, it's not. And she's like, you're lying to me. We just together somehow had this like joint mispronunciation of him. I guess trying to make him cooler than he was.
Oh man, he was cool to me. And right now I'm sporting my Kip hair, folks. My Kip hair. All right. So Christopher Nelson, Meg, do you keep up with the news about the EU? Meaning efforts to convince Lucasfilm to continue it along a parallel path with the new canon, and whether EU sites or channels do you follow?
I guess I haven't really followed any, like, the effort to try to get Lucasfilm to continue to release material. Other EU sites. Oh, I don't know. I like watching a lot of other people's reviews, but like not of the ones I'm doing, because I guess I'm the opposite of you. When I'm going to review something, I want to make sure like it's my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I do, like, a lot of times, like right now I missed out on all the like old Republic books somehow. Like I didn't read any of those, maybe because I didn't read the game, because I didn't play the games. I never played Knights of the Old Republic. So I've been watching a lot of different reviews on those books, like the Revan and Darth Bane, and
the reason I like doing it, the reason I like looking at other people's channels and other people's reviews, I just want to hear what they have to say, because sometimes they make a good point that I never thought about before. And the one thing, folks, and if I haven't mentioned this yet, I will mention it on a future video. My biggest regret, well, not one of my biggest regrets, but one of my regrets for when I was doing this series of where I reviewed all the expanded universe, I didn't give, I gave the author credit every once in a while. I mean, not the artist credit is what I'm talking about. And I should have focused more on the artwork and talked about the artist a little bit more, because artwork does help a comic book thrive.
Yeah.
And I missed out. I saw someone did some nice, beautiful reviews with just talking about the artist on these comic books. And I totally missed the boat on that. And I feel, because I wanted to focus, and I did think about this for a long time ago. I think the first time I ever mentioned that was the Star Wars Republic comic book and the Battle of Jabim. And I just love, going to butcher that name, Jan Turismo's whatever artwork. And I then thought about it. I was like, have I been talking about artwork? No, I don't. I just talk about the story, the content of the story. And I wish I would have talked more about the artwork, folks. I just have to get some words in, because all these questions are for Meg, which is great. Okay, here we go. Question for both of us. Do either of us buy into the Darth Jar Jar theory? Do you know the Darth Jar Jar theory?
Yeah. Isn't it that he's like a Sith Lord behind all the maneuverings in like everything?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea. I like trying to find a greater purpose for Jar Jar, but I'm not sure I buy it.
I'm the same way too. I love the theory. Someone super creative came up with that. Anyone can make a conspiracy theory sound good, though, if they're paranoid enough. But yes, I'm not going to buy it. Overall, how dare you, sir? How dare you make fun of my Kip? That's not the same guy. I told you he's training to be a cage fighter. Get out of here. Bryant, of course. Hey, Bryant. Yes, Meg's got excellent reviews. I was going to say that if you don't know, if you haven't seen reviews, you need to go watch them. Obviously, everyone on my channel knows who you are right now. So anyone else who doesn't know, you need to go check out her channel. She does some great reviews and great stuff. First time on the channel, Brian. First time on the channel. We get one strike. We get one strike. Oh yeah. Okay, just discovered her channel. All right, awesome. Ben's got a fun channel too. What is her channel? Oh yeah. Go ahead.
It's just Meg Reviews.
Meg Reviews.
Yeah. And I solved the problem. I found that if you made a custom URL, you pop up sooner, and that stopped the problem of my reviews being hidden behind reviews of the shark movie, The Meg.
There you go. Yeah, let me get some of this stuff here. Oh man. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Because we're going to get to that in a minute, because another reason why she's on here is because she and I share some of the same, I got to talk to like-minded, highly intelligent people. Okay. To show that I'm not the one that's crazy. A few things. Okay. We both like Callista, and it's you and me and maybe 3 other people in this world. I was a big fan of her from the very beginning, reading Children of the Jedi. Everyone knows the story. I said in my review. I remember I just jumped up when I read the ending. I was arm pumping, fist pumping the sky. I was so happy for that ending, and I love the 2 of them together. Give your thoughts about Callista and why you liked her.
Yeah, I really like her. I love, in the Bantam era, I love when they brought the like Old Republic and the Old Republic Jedi into it, particularly because they had no idea where Lucas was going with it with the prequel trilogy. So they were really just, going off of a few lines from the original trilogy and just making up whatever they wanted. And so I don't know, I really like the concept of Callista as this Old Republic Jedi. So she comes from like a different tradition than Luke. I just really love how kind she is. She's really, she goes through an awful lot, but she's just like kind and compassionate. And part of what I loved so much about her was I loved her subplot with Leia in Planet of Twilight. Like Leia is still dealing with these issues regarding like her parentage, the fact that Darth Vader was her father, whether she wants to train to be a Jedi. And Callista's honestly, like up to that point, the best Jedi teacher she's had so far, even if she can't even use the Force at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. I enjoyed Children of the Jedi much more than Planet of Twilight. But I do get there are some other plot lines that were going on the back, and I know Noah's in bed at this point because he's overseas, but he definitely disagrees with me on Planet of Twilight. He actually absolutely loved that. I said movie just then, book. But another thing that you and I share commonality on, and Brian, I hope you're listening because we're going to talk about iJedi. So I said it, and I knew that iJedi, you and me and 3 other people don't like that book because it is you check a bunch of other people who talk about their #1 favorites. iJedi is at or near their top.
Yeah.
And when I read it, I felt I was getting slapped in the face over and over, as a fan. I did not like And Brian, I know where you live. You better protect your Queen's Gambit board game, buddy. I have one, but I'm coming for it. Brian's a great guy. But the thing is, though, of course, Brian and a couple other people. Well, Brian's the majority, by the way. Brian, you're the majority.
Yeah.
But I knew, and I kept it close to my chest. I didn't tell anyone that I hated that book. And a few people had kind of put, like Brian, had kind of put 2 and 2 together, because he knew I'm not a big fan of first person. And I'm not a big fan of, and he knew this earlier from Timothy Zahn, when he shoehorns Mara into situations where some of his other books kind of just, and Mara was here the whole time, but you didn't know.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. I felt like he forced people in. And obviously Corran Horn is more than shoehorned. He's hammered in awkwardly into this storyline, like heavily. And it just rubbed me the wrong way the entire time. I was not a fan at all. And then later on, to be fair, it was 3 against 1 to make it even. 3 fans against me to try to convince me that I was wrong. And they lost. I don't care what people think. They lost. So now that I have a comrade here who also dislikes iJedi, give me some of your repeat some of your thoughts and let people know what you thought, why it wasn't the best expanded universe book ever.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. I don't really like iJedi, but I'm also not a huge fan of the Jedi Academy trilogy. And I feel like a lot of the people who are huge iJedi fans either really love Jedi Academy trilogy or they love it because it retcons everything. And I'm like, I don't know, over here, like, it did feel like Corran was being shoehorned into situations that, he wasn't originally in. And so sometimes you have Corran just added into these seeds from the Jedi Academy trilogy. And then sometimes you have, like, to explain why he wasn't in those scenes, it's like, well, he was jogging. He was in his room. Yeah. And it's like, well, if he was in the class, like, why wasn't he there? Like everyone finds that Luke is collapsed and has been attacked by Kypter.
And when we cut to a commercial in between chapters, that's where Corran Horn figures everything out.
Yeah. And Corran's doing his little, like, okay, here's the thing with Corran. In rereading the X-Wing books and then iJedi, I kept going back and forth on Corran. Like, I thought he was absolutely obnoxious in Rogue Squadron. But then in the next 3 books, I was like, I'm warming up to you. Like, yeah. And like, by the time it was the Bacta War, and I just loved how, like, he tries to do stuff as a Jedi and he fails. I was like, that's great. And then we get to iJedi, and like, it did feel in a way like he's a video game character. Someone in my comments used this analogy and it was really great. And he's just like constantly leveling up. But I didn't always feel like that was realistic or interesting. I think the worst part for me was the section where he's undercover with the pirates, because it just felt like too long and like it was too much Corran. And I was like, there was like no one reining him in. I guess I prefer him in books where he's got someone to play off of, so someone who can tone him down and tell him when he's wrong, and until he
But he's
picks
never
up.
wrong in iJedi.
No, and I
He's
mean, there's
never
a few
wrong. In fact,
times.
Luke's wrong. And
Yeah,
when he whoops
yeah,
him in a battle, Luke comes to his rescue whenever Corran calls.
yeah. It was like I can only describe it as I got frustrated with Luke in the Jedi Academy trilogy, but then I got frustrated with Corran yelling at Luke because I was like, all right, I don't think he was being a good teacher here, but I mean, that's no reason to yell at the man.
So, Brian, were you taking notes? I'm kidding. And everyone else? Okay, Ben, she's kind of answered your question, but thank you for the super chat. I'm going to leave it up here. This is, and I don't know if you saw this but it's on here. KJA is what I have written down, which means I'm going to ask, because guys, don't worry. Someone else put down here, she spoke bad about Matt's favorite trilogy. She's going to be booted. No, here's the deal. We don't always have to agree, and that's fine with that. Now, it was Ryan Kendall has the same quote, like, that's just not Luke. Luke's kind of bumbled around through that. And my defense, I just put this out on when it was in my top 10 videos. A lot of people I was talking about Ryan, by the way. I'll call that guy out anytime, okay? But it's one of the things that, Luke is he's so dumb, he makes mistakes. And well, here's the thing. He made a lot of mistakes, but he just proclaimed himself a Jedi Master. Was it too early? Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Did he know completely what he was doing? No. And even he admits that. And then, and Meg, you may help me out, or someone in the chat may help me out, because I didn't get anyone in the comments correct me on that video. There was, and it's maybe just made up in my brain too, I don't know, but I feel like later on in the books, he talks to someone about mistakes and mentions offhand, it's just one sentence, says, when I first started my academy, I made a lot of mistakes too. Now, true, he may have been talking about Gantoris, but in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I think he's talking about, like, I didn't see things. I was too spread out. I was, and I'm, of course, yeah, I'm a Kevin J. Anderson defender, of course. But for me, that made sense to me, because he jumped into the Jedi Knight realm before he was a Jedi.
Yeah.
He's always jumped too early on things, and he's grown as a character since then. But I'm totally fine. I'm well aware of what she likes and dislikes. So KJA was on there, and that's totally fine. Is there anything else you didn't like about the Jedi Academy? Since you can go ahead, bash my favorite trilogy. I'm kidding.
No, I know a lot of people love the Jedi Academy trilogy, feel that it's like very cinematic. I guess my main issue with the Jedi Academy trilogy is that in my head, I can understand the routes that Anderson took for the characters. Like, it makes logical sense for Luke to be proclaiming himself a Jedi Master and starting the Academy, Leia to be taking on more responsibility and becoming the Chief of State in the end. But, and this is like 100% a me thing, like, when I read it, I understand the idea behind it, but, like, it doesn't like grab me. It doesn't feel right to me, I guess. And that's like, I guess that's one of the things I love about the expanded universe is, like, there's literally a book for everyone. And
there is. And as we say that, someone starts talking about Crystal Star there. Don't regret reading it. And then here's this one. Ben, come on, give me a break here. Okay.
Both sides.
And I'm going to talk about Crystal Star again and some of my top 10s later on, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So I don't want to spoil anything about that. But Vonda and McIntyre, I will say this. I said this in my review. Probably not to be, in a way, she's to be blamed, but at the same time, she was an awesome Star Trek author, is what I'm told. And so she was making a Star Trek novel in the Star Wars universe, and it feels like, when I realized, I was like, oh, that's what she was doing. Now, I'll be honest, when I reread this, because I've made so much fun of it over the years, I'm probably going to love this now. It's gotten to that part where now I just can't wait to read about Waru. I mean, I just can't. It's sad, but I'm probably going to like it too, Ben. after it's over. Someone else had a funny comment. Oh yeah, there it was. Oh, you spoken bad about
Yes,
that?
I've done
It's okay.
it.
It's okay. Kype Duran. That's great. That's great. They're actually listening here. So let me see. I'm gonna see them speed up with some of these comments so I don't fall behind. I could do a counter. You know what? You're just such a wet blanket, Brian. How do I boot you from my chat? Brian is a great guy. And it's funny, man. I thought I'd be talking more about who you are, but everyone seems to know who you are here. So glad you're super popular. Your presence precedes you. Is it wild that is it wild that you've garnered so many views? I mean, that's great. It's great that you're garnering views, but is it something that, because it surprised me. The first time I heard my name on someone else's channel, I was like, how do they know who I am? I remember I went and showed my wife and went, look, look, look. And it was this kid from East Texas. He's going, oh, and Matt Wilkins, you need to watch his channel. It's really good. And I was like, and she looked at me, she went, how's he know your name? I said, I don't know. Do you get that?
Yeah, a bit, because when I started doing these, I feel like the only people watching were my friends and family, partially because I didn't think I was going to be able to read all these. So I didn't really want to publicize that I was doing this, because I was like, well, if I fall off the wagon, then no one will know. But then it was like, all of a sudden I started getting like subscribers and views and comments. And I was like, how do you, and then like some very nice people left comments. They're like, hey, you should put Star Wars in the title of all your videos. And I was like, that hadn't even occurred to me. Like, I just had the title of the book and review, and they were like, put Star Wars book review. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I started this, like, I don't know, thinking this would be fun, but then not thinking that, like, being totally surprised that people are watching these, especially when my reviews are long. I go in depth. I try to keep them under 20 minutes, but that usually means they're like 18 minutes long. So it always surprises me that people will watch them all.
But again, that's why people like them, because you are very thorough. I do like the way you set up your review and how you break things down first by telling the story and then breaking it piece by piece, section by section. Now, it makes sense if you're taking notes while you're reading it. That's really smart, because then you can really break down and share your thoughts piece by piece and what you thought worked and what you didn't think worked and why. Yeah. And it's very thorough. It's a very thorough review with very insightful thoughts, which are usually right when it comes to Jedi and Callista. And then sometimes off when it's Jedi Academy. we can't have it all bat 1,000, right? Spencer, my good friend Spencer. Actually, Spencer was the first person. I need to call you out, Spence. The first time I met Spence was at Gen Con. He stopped me. We were in the game room, I think, and he just got up and said, excuse me, are you Matt Wilkins? I was like, yeah, do I owe you money? I didn't know what he was asking. He goes, no, I watch your channel. I'm a big fan. I was like, seriously? He's like, yeah, can I get a picture? I was like, only if I can get a picture with you. But now I'm good friends with Spencer. And I in my video, Spence, if I'm right, then thank you, because I thought it was something he told Tenel Ka in Young Jedi Knights, when she rushed too much and she was kind of beating herself up going, it's all my fault. And he's like, hey, we all make mistakes. I made mistakes when my academy first started here. I thought that was it, but it's been a long time and I just couldn't remember.
I think also Vision of the Future, when Luke and Mara are in the caves, Luke really like admits to a lot of the things that he rushed and the things he didn't think through. And I think he does acknowledge that like, yeah, you know, when one of your students spontaneously combusts, maybe you need to take a step back and be like, should we be here? Is this safe?
But see, that to me is one of the best endings of a chapter, because I know Luke is weak at the knees. I think he's grabbing the ledge of the door and he just kind of turns to his students and just kind of hoarse voice goes, beware of the dark side. Yeah. And then it ends right. Ooh, and look, I'm getting the goosey bumps right now. I just really, and I've said this before, but Kype, I'll do it for you. Kype Duran, he was my age when I read it. And so it was like, I was living, who doesn't want to be best friends with Han and Chewie, fly around the Falcon, then find out you have the Force and walk into Luke's Academy and be the best thing ever. Every kid dreams of that. So I was like, that's me. that's me. I loved it. And so, yeah, it was that to me. That's why that, and to be honest, when I reread it, I will be fair on it. When I reread it again, I'll be fair, because it's true. I was just very impressed by Kip Durden, and still was, even through New Jedi Order. I really liked I agreed with his character, even though his character wasn't always right. I saw where he was coming from. Okay, this schmuck here. Hey, Dylan. Dylan says, for me, since I don't obviously I still have questions, guys. But anyway, I'm gonna let you guys have, because this is a lot of fun. I'm glad everyone's asking you questions. For Meg, what are some of the hardest books for you to get through on your rereads?
Oh, so actually, interesting. Jedi Search took me a month to read, not because it was hard for me to read, but I started reading it the beginning of March 2020. And so, like, my work shut down, the play that I was in was canceled, and I just got into this habit of just doom scrolling through world and US news on my phone. And so it only took me like 3 or 4 days to read the book, but in chronological time, it took me a month, which was partially why I had to read a book a week going forward, because if I wanted to finish the Bantam books by the end of the year, like, I could not take a week off, because it took me a month to read Jedi Search, but actually it only took me like 3 days. I think also it wasn't a reread, but I had never read the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy. I realized when I was rereading these, it was like I got them and I looked at them and I went, I've seen these. I don't. And then, so those were a little hard for me to read, because a lot of these I'm rereading and I'm like looking at what I remembered and then also like what I'd forgotten and trying to, and I find it harder. I found it a lot harder to analyze those when I had never read them before. And I think the reason I'd never read them before was because I'm just like not interested in the subject matter.
That's cool. Okay, that's fair. No, that's fair. I call that the forgettable trilogy. A lot of people forget that I even existed. Now it's time for me to ask some of my questions. I got a follow-up question just now from this. You do theater?
I do.
What show got canceled that you were in?
It was Hamlet.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
Yes. My undergraduate degree was in English and theater. So this is maybe what helps me filming myself and doing reviews, is just like all that experience of like theatrical stuff.
The pieces are falling together for me now.
Yeah, it was Hamlet. Sadly, that was canceled. I was going to be several characters. We had a very small cast. So I was going to be Guildenstern from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and the player queen from the players that put it on the Mousetrap, the play within the play, and then a few other people. But yeah, we were supposed to open the first week in April and we got canceled.
That's so funny. My buddy on one of my podcasts, Saturday Morning Sandflanch, Rosenstein and Guildenstern is one of his ultimate, like, top of the level plays he's always wanted to do. He just got to perform it a year or so ago, and it's still top five plays ever done. I also had a play canceled during the pandemic, and it was the week of when everything started. In fact, when they said no more than 250, we had sold out the show at 270 or 280. And so they said, oh, and I was like, well, we can go ahead and do it. They said, no, they said 250. Let's just hold off for 3 weeks. Let's hold off for 3 months. Let's not do it anymore. And it was the one and only show I ever agreed to star in. I never want to star in a single play, but I'm a big fan of how to succeed in business without even trying, really trying. And I'm way too old to play the lead, but because I had amount of talent, and the director has always wanted me to star in something. And I remember she told me, you're applying for the lead role, right? I went, yes. She said, you do know it's the lead role? I said, yes, I do. She went, you do know it's for a young man? I said, yes, and you can cast anyone else. But I promised myself I'd always try out. This is the one time I'll try out for the lead. And she said she'd give it to me. And it was a lot of fun. And it was the show that the set was completed. We were ready to roll. We were connected. And it's the show that never happened. So never meant to be. And they tell me, oh, we'll bring it back in 2 more years. Dude, I was already too old for the role last year. By then I'm done. But so I know what that's like. And yes, here, Steve, bother me, blowing me up in the comments there. Steve, I don't know, but Alora's channel, I left a message on her last post this morning. If you want to read it, it was for you. A cut down, of course, but Stig's a good guy too. Anyway, so that's interesting that you have English major and theater. Makes perfect sense right now, because obviously now I can see how you get your reviews and how you do your presentation. That stuff happens too. Yeah, it's good. It's good to you have a well-written format and you keep it interesting. That's the thing. You can. I just told her before we went live, folks. I don't like doing long videos. I hate listening to myself. But when you have a long video and you're keeping it engaging the whole time, like you do in your reviews, that's good. I feel like I do. I remember someone left a comment and said, "Geez, you just talked about off topic for like 5 minutes in a 10-minute video, Matt." Yes, I did. I probably rambled on about some kind of weird thing that I like beforehand. That's just how I cut it. I have an outline and that's it. Where I'm going, I don't need roads. I'm all over the place. But I wanted to ask a few more questions here since I'm having the time. Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go. Oh, okay. I've given my thoughts. She has too on a video, but go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, I was really excited to see a paperback copy of Heart of the Jedi. I knew it wasn't going to stay up very long because it was unlicensed. It was pretty much just a fan-made copy. I believe when there was at one point a hardcover release that was like even shorter available, maybe like 2016.
It was 2015.
2015. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
There's one of the very, very few out there.
I guess I would love for Kenneth C. Flint to be able to profit off of his Star Wars book. I know that it got canceled and never published, and I'm glad that it was able to see the light of day and that it is available online to read and that so many people were able to get paperback copies of it. I just oh man, I had never, until I started reading the Bantamere books, I had no idea that Heart of the Jedi even existed. I had never even heard of it. I read it in a printed off PDF that I 3-hole punched and put in a 3-ring binder.
I saw that.
Yes. Rest in peace, Meg's binder. I still have the binder. It's in a box. I have the book and the binder. I used too much ink to get rid of that binder.
That's right. Pay to print it out. That's right. I get it. Ben, we talked about this on Ben's channel. He's giving away, he bought extra copies and everything, like I told everyone else to do, but he's giving away some copies. So you definitely want to check out his channel. One of the things, that I should mention when it comes to, Heart of the Jedi and Kenneth C. Flint, he has been very grateful that fans have been kind of this book exists. Because a lot of people didn't know until it was brought to light and kind of the news kind of caught on at Amazon. It rose through the ranks.
Yeah.
We followed it on our website, the sales, or Dylan did, I should say, Mr. Numbers. And you can go to StarWarsTimeline.net. StarWarsTimeline.net and read the PDF to your heart's content. Joe put it up there. He's a really great guy. That's a really great website because it has some unpublished West End Games Star Wars Adventure Journals. It has the 3rd unreleased Adventures in Hyperspace by Ryder Wenham, a ton of unreleased fiction, one by my good friend Rich Hanley, who I was told I was the one who convinced him to bring it out. So Rich wasn't going to bring that story out with Charlene Newcomb until I said, Rich, you got to do it. And supposedly it was me who changed his mind. That's the only contribution I've made. Joe gives me a little bit more credit on some of those other ones, but it was all Joe who got all that stuff. I talked to a few people, but no one listens to me. But it's sad that Mr. Ken didn't get the money, but yeah, you interviewed him and everything, but he's very grateful that people got to see it. Because if you think about it, what you said earlier, Meg, when you read Kathy Tyers, you went out and said, hey, what else has she got? You read Barbara Hamlin. What else has she got? You and a lot of other fans. I did that. I read Kevin Jamerson's like, who is this guy? What else has he wrote?
Yeah.
And people did that with Zahn and Stackpole and everyone. But Mr. Flint didn't get that. He got a few short stories and a Tales novel that were great, but that's not enough to pursue who this author is. This would have been a New York Times bestseller because everything Star Wars was going top bestseller, which would have been a big win under his belt, and then gotten fans behind him to support his other books, which he would make more money off of. And that he missed that shot. It's like he got a chance, he got a contract and everything, but his book just, because of scheduling and budgeting issues, whatever the issues was, it didn't get put in. That now people at least get to read it and get to appreciate it, and all these glowing things are being said about it. I know that made him feel good. And to be honest, in 2015, he missed out because that copy was up and down almost immediately. And I gave him one of my paperbacks, trade paperbacks I got from it, just because I'd heard it went up for print and he didn't get a copy. So I gave one of my copies. I gave Joe another copy too to him to give to Kenneth C. Flint. And I know he got a new one because I was going to order him a newer version too, but Joe said he already got him covered. But yeah, I mean, it's too bad he didn't get compensated. Now the guy did self-publishing and did it at zero compensation either. So no one, except for Amazon,
it was just like the price to print it. Yeah.
Yeah. So no one was really making money off it. But yeah, it's too sad. But I do think that he is very happy about people just, it's his time in the sun. He missed that. And even though it's on a less grand scale, I am forever grateful for him releasing it in the first place.
Yeah, because there are other ones like because Heart of the Jedi was supposed to be like a quasi trilogy. There was going to be a comic and another novel, I think by Margaret Weiss.
Yeah.
Legacy of Doom, and that one that it was on her computer, she got rid of her computer, it's forever lost, even though she completely wrote it.
That's a lot of authors that we reached out to. They had it, they give it to us, but it's on an old, this is back in the day of zip drives, floppy disk, and when your computer got old, you just threw it away. That's why all these Bitcoin passwords are gone forever, because people just threw away their crappy computer and got another one. The cloud didn't exist. And even if you saved on a zip drive or floppy drive, you threw those away too.
Right. Because there's no way to get the data off it anymore.
Yeah. So the thing is, and people thought, well, it was a failed story. No one cares. So I'll throw it away because no one knows about it. Well, now fans are avid. They want to know these things. And sadly, a lot of that stuff is gone. It's just gone forever. Some New Jedi Order books, Elaine Cunningham's Blood Oath.
Yes.
Not New Jedi Order, but Legacy of the Force is gone. She doesn't have a copy anymore because it was on her old computer there. So there's sadly, there's a lot. Now there are still some things maybe out there. We know that William C. Dietz has Escape from Dagu. Blue Pig Game is already saying that. Escaped from Dagu. I've talked to Bill. He's a great guy. And he's honest. He does have the copy, but he feels that he can't release it because he got paid in full.
Oh.
But I bet, and I helped write a book, and someone else who wrote a book got on with me. And when we read our contract, if they don't publish what you write within X amount of years, you're free to release it for free. You're free to release it for free and let if they don't publish it for, I think my contract with C-Corp was like 3 years, which
that's not very long.
Third year, they finally got around to print. And I was like, am I going to release this on my own? But they printed it. And but if you don't, then you can print on your site. And we said, hey, if you can check your contract, he said, guys, look, I know. He said, but to be honest, I just don't feel right because I sold it full. And I was like, I get that. Yeah. But I don't want anyone bothering him on it. But I do wish he would bring it out because fans just want to see that. And to be honest, it would. William C. Ditz does a lot of alternate history novels and stuff.
Mhm.
Like who's the other guy that does Harry Turtledove? I think is
Oh
his name.
yeah.
And I think or William C. Ditz does a lot of other books. Let's just put it that way. And so I think it would just introduce some more people to his website.
Yeah.
But it's not for me to say. But if I talk to him again, folks, I'm definitely gonna just politely try to coax him into it. And then John Whitman had before anyone, if someone said it in here, I'm not looking on it, but John Whitman, who wrote Galaxy of Fear, he also wrote what was it called? Star Wars Fairy Tales.
Oh, okay.
It was young Jason and Jaina stories that Scholastic were going to do. But when
so like the Little Last Bantha Cub and stuff.
In a way, but
Maybe.
it was going to be Jason. It was going to be Jason and Jaina as kids explore the weird and unexplained.
Oh.
And what happened was episode 1 got announced, and Scholastic went, "Whoa, wait! We want an episode 1 novelization. We want episode 1 kid story." And they went with the excellent Jedi Apprentice series.
Yeah.
But I still like to read that one. Did he write the original Halo books? You know what? That's a great question. If someone can answer that, I've read them, Brian. I don't remember if he did or not. But he's written a bunch of stuff before, and he's a really nice guy to talk to. He's really nice. All right, so we're talking about authors there. It leads me to my other question here. What are some of your favorite authors?
Yeah.
That's a hard question.
It is hard. It's hard. I love so many of them. I love Matt Stover. But I'm going to say my favorite is not Revenge of the Sith or Traitor. It is Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor. I love that book. It's so much fun. It's like, set not long after Return of the Jedi, maybe like a year when he's still in the, he's still an officer, he's still a commander. And I just love the like serial feel to it. And you get the sense that, they are making like movies about Star Wars, but everything it's gone through like a round of telephone and things have gotten blown all out of proportion. And I don't know, I love Leia, but I also love Luke. And that's such a good Luke book.
There you go. I got some heat on liking that book. I like it. Oh, here's Spencer. Underrated book.
Yes.
Wacky but interesting. I'll be Scott. Oh wow, 2 of the greatest EU reviewers of all time. All time, Meg. You're on the all-time list there.
Wow.
I know. Wow. You're getting tons of love in here, by the way.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, got lots of people here. But one of the things, you guys, I shouldn't have answered all those questions. Oh yeah, Shaz of Minor. I loved a lot of the connections because that was the first time they made they've always made passing connections to the Marvel series, but that's when they said, yeah, Marvel's part of it.
Yeah.
We got Black Hole or whatever his name was in the what was his name in the book? I've lost his name. The villain.
I mean, it's Black Hole, but
is it Black Hole? Is that what is in the book?
Well, no, it's
called something else. I'm
he's
going
wearing
blank.
A helmet.
Yes. Right now. Okay. I'm glad this happens to you too. Someone's gonna let us know.
There's too much Star Wars stuff in my head, and so some of it stays and most of it goes.
But
Chronal, yes.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, small time.
Thank you.
I just forget. I blank out on that. But see, I knew who it was, and when I saw, first off, they talked about the was it the Black Stormtroopers? And I was like, wait a minute, that's from the Marvel series. What's going on? And then they're like, oh my gosh. I was like, whoa. And I'm very impressed with connections. The expanded universe is so heavily connected, and that's one of the purposes of my channel. Was not I gave a 1 minute 30-second. If I enjoyed the book, I talked a little bit more about it, but then I talk about the connections.
Yeah,
because that's what I just really enjoyed, was seeing these dots get connected for me. And that's one of the big reasons, again, why I'm a big fan of all that. Lord Shadowspawn. That's the other name I was thinking about. Shadowspawn.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Chronal.
Okay.
Yeah. You're right. George Shadowspawn. Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. Hey, a channel you should unsubscribe to, folks. Tabletop Island. If you're subscribed to it, unsubscribe. Okay? All these people I know. Meg's like, I don't know if I want to be your friend. You get kind of insulting to the people you really like here. This is kind of weird. No, they're great people on here. Thank you, Bernardo. Welcome for coming on. Actually, Bernardo has the distinct privilege or shame of getting to talk to me almost every single day now. Let's see. Oh, by the way, Bernardo, my wife had no idea where you were from, and I told you, oh, I thought he lived overseas. I said, no, what? So I'll have to tell you about that later. But anyway, so Matthew Stover. Is there anyone else?
Okay. I'm not a big Troy Denning fan, but I really love Tatooine Ghost, mostly because I find that of his his other books, the series books, I really like how he writes Han and Leia. So I love Tatooine Ghost. I love its sort of sister book, Survivor's Quest, which is by Zahn, but it's just like, I don't know, sometimes it's just nice to see them solving a mystery that's not galaxy wide. And I think that's what I liked so much about, Denning's Tatooine Ghost and Zahn's Survivor's Quest, that it's like, at their heart, they're like about the relationship between these people. So in Tatooine Ghost, it's Han and Leia. In Survivor's Quest, it's Luke and Mara. Prequel era stuff. I was obviously not as big a fan as my sister, but I did read all the Clone Wars books that came out between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And I really love Yoda Dark Rendezvous by Sean Stewart. That is my favorite. I love Yoda.
Are you listening to this? Chris, are you listening to this? That is Chris's favorite novel.
Oh gosh. Yes, it's so good.
And I thought he was joking with me when he told me that. Chris, I hope you're hearing this. I'm going to text him when this is over. That is amazing. It's amazing that some of my favorite authors you're not big on. I love this, by the way. I love Troy Denning. I've spoken to the man face to face. And I'll be honest, any of these authors, the ones I haven't met, I'm sure they'd be all awesome to meet. But I absolutely love Troy Denning. And the one book that I'm not the biggest fan of is Tatooine's Ghost. But I will agree with you on this. I think the squibs who are in it are hilarious. They're great. Yeah. That it's not a world-shattering event is nice. Yeah. We're just getting a moss painting from Alderaan or whatever. But to me, it felt like, hey, we just found out about episode 1. Let's make a book about episode 1. No, don't do this yet. Don't do this yet. Please don't do this yet. And I thought the Bantam universe was already done. We don't need to do any more books in the Bantam universe, even though people are going to call me a hypocrite because I just said I enjoy Shadows of Mordor 2, which is also Bantam universe. So yes, that is hypocritical, but I'll gladly reread Tatooine's Ghost. But it's so funny. It's so funny how we have
totally different. Oh wait, and then how could I forget? Honestly, maybe most of my favorite Star Wars books are by Aaron Alston. I have reread the Race Squadron books so many times.
They're phenomenal.
And then, a lot of these I hadn't really reread in years, but Race Squadron and Iron Fist and Solo Command I have reread like over and over and over again just because I love those characters so much.
I'll be honest, when I was doing my top 10 and everyone, I put Alston over Stackpole. And I don't know how, I didn't hear anyone outraged about that. And Brian, I think, is the biggest one who loves Stackpole. But I think even he would admit that Alston comes pretty close when it comes to Rogue Squadron, because we've talked about this before. But Alston, to me, Stackpole had a hard job. He had to make Wedge interesting. I remember when those books came out thinking, I don't care about Wedge and all the C characters here, but I'll buy it because it's Star Wars. I end up loving it. Well, now Alston has to come in. He has this big shoes to fill. Yeah. He doesn't even go with Rogue Squadron. He goes with some B squad called Race Squadron, a bunch of losers. And you're like, well, now I'm really not interested. But then he adds more humor, I think, than Stackpole.
Yes.
He adds, and there it is. There's Dylan just rubbing it in Brian's. I don't think Brian would be too upset though. Brian, if you're listening, just chime in. But Brian's a huge Stackpole fan. But the thing is, though, I think he would admit that Alston's stuff is really solid, and I agree with you on that. I think he's just that's the one missed opportunity. Of course, I didn't get to meet the man before he passed away. I was at his memorial. Whoa, actually, here it is right here. My girl took it down from there. He always used to wear a Hawaiian t-shirt.
Yeah.
So they gave us leis at his little memorial that they did at, I think this was Dragon Con the year he died. And it was also for A.C. Crispin, who had died the same year, but who would have gotten more attention. But Alston had died right after that, and the focus went to Alston. But I absolutely think Alston did great. Iron Fist is the one book. Oh, there you go. There's Brian chiming in. Yes, Alston's very close to quality in Stackpole. Yeah. And to be honest, Brian, like I said in my book, you could probably convince me Stackpole's better, but Alston, because of Iron Fist, I knew I had to put him over, because Iron Fist, and it's a 20-something-year-old book. I don't care about spoilers, but when the scene with Face and Tom Fannin, you know this.
Yes.
That hurt. That was, out of every death in the expanded universe, to me, that one hurt the most. Nothing from New Jedi Order, nothing from Sacrifice, nothing hurt me as bad as Tom Fannin's death. It did. I mean, because I teared up.
Yeah.
I was like, because it ends with Face crying for the. It's just, and I think the chapter ends like this. You'll probably know it better than me. And since the first time since Face was a boy, he cried, and that's where they end it.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're like, you know, I even kind of joked about it. I was like, I'm crying over an imaginary character. But you just love those two together. And Alston is very cruel. He will make you laugh right before he pulls your heart out.
Yes. Yeah, I feel the difference between Alston and Stackpole is that in Stackpole's X-Wing books, he focuses on a few characters. And you'll have deaths, but they're more the peripheral characters. So you get the sense that, like, this is serious consequence. This is a war, but it's usually not people you care about. With Alston, he sort of develops everyone. So when people die, it's devastating, and it has consequences for you as the reader, but it also has consequences for all the other characters as well. Which, I mean, it breaks my heart to read about Ton, but I just keep reading it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and spoilers, folks, if we can say that, but the thing is, his plane goes down. I mean, his X-Wing goes down. No one who's reading that thinks he's dead. No one. There's absolutely, it didn't fool anyone. And then, of course, that Face finds him. He's injured. You know, he can't walk, so he has to get a gurney and pull him along. Okay, we know they made it out. They're going to be fine. And then they're joking about that Star Destroyer that keeps going around the planet. They're in a bad situation, but they just joke. That's how they avoid the seriousness of the situation. Face makes a joke. Han doesn't respond. And the coldness of the water, I remember, like, it creeps up and just the way Alston wrote it, because the whole time you're laughing because they're dissing each other. You know, they're cutting down each other, and you're like, good old Tom and Face. And then suddenly the book gets serious and ends. The chapter ends. You're like, and there's not been another. And there's some powerful moments in the EU, folks. I'm not saying there wasn't another powerful moment, but I'm saying a moment that really broke me was Iron Fist. And that's why I put Stackpole over. In fact, Brian, if you're listening, that's your article idea. Stackpole and Alston. Two great people there. Let me say to me, the fact of Alston versus Stackpole, the debate among fans, shows how good a job they're both commendable authors.
Yeah.
Look at and hi, just joined. Nice to see you, Meg on. Okay, see another person who knows you. This is just your fan club just coming on here and saying hello. So I'm glad. I got another question here. Comic books.
Mhm.
Are you a big fan of them? Have you read what all? You've obviously read Dark Empire and a few others, but is comic books your thing, or is more of a novels person?
I'm definitely more of a novels person, although I have read comics. Like I read Dark Empire, I read the X-Wing comics. Although I'm not sure I read all of them. I was always with the comics, I feel like my reading was sporadic because it was what I could get from the library, and they would sometimes have volume 1 and volume 3 of like the trade paperbacks, but not the middle. So you'd be like, oh. And this was before Wikipedia, so it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna guess what happened in that gap. Um, but yeah, I read. No, actually, I never read the Legacy comic. I had friends that did. I remember there being on the Force.net boards a weird Cade Skywalker fan club, which I didn't understand because I hadn't read those. I think it was particularly was something about Cade Skywalker wearing chaps that they were fans of. Um, and
Only
then
on the Force.net.
oh yeah, that was good times. I loved that message board. I was there from like 2000 was when my account was created until probably until I went away to undergrad. Loved it. And then I read like some of the prequel era stuff, but feel like with the comics I haven't read as much as the novels.
That's fair. I gathered that, and that's fine because, like you said, the comic books are really hard to get unless you get digital.
Yeah.
And there was a digital sale not too long ago, but next time there's a digital sale, that's the only time to get them. But the thing is, I like reading physical copies too. But sometimes, like you said, that's the only way to get it.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny. Oh, let me get to this question. There's something that you mentioned, and then Brian, I'll get you your question next. About I didn't write it down, folks, while she was talking. So there it goes, out one ear.
Uh-oh.
It's in one ear, out the other. It's going to come back to me in just a moment because you had mentioned something just then I want to talk about. But we'll get Bryant's comment. I don't know if you know, but Del Rey is coming out with their Essential Legends collection, just 3 paperbacks. Matthew Stover's Shatterpoint, the Darth Bane novel by Drew Karpyshyn, and it was Heir to the Empire, another reprint of Heir to the Empire. Have you seen the covers for these?
I think I've seen the cover for Heir to the Empire. It's like blue. I think it's blue. I think it has a big. I haven't seen the other two.
Yeah, Brian, I did an article about this on the website. I don't particularly like them. I think they're subpar to what we've seen before. And Darth Bane especially looks awful. It looks like some children's artwork. You know, some art students half artwork. It's like half colored, half black and white, or stencil drawn. I don't get it. I'm happy they're reprinting. I'm always happy for something called the Essentials Collection. I like the idea, but I felt like the covers were not my taste. Not my taste. Serious question: who's your favorite Wookiee? Your mama. Okay, so let's see. I'm kidding. I guess Chewbacca. Why wouldn't it be? Is it confirmed? Well, no, I don't think it's confirmed. I just know the first one is. The first one. They haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't confirmed what the next wave is, but they are doing more. Didn't know I was about that behind the things there. Oh, Star Wars Timeline. See, he loves them. That's fine. Like I said, I think it's an art choice if you like it. It is done a little bit differently. For me, particularly, I don't like it, but there's a lot of, I hated the Fate of the Jedi artwork. That just wasn't for me. And the books were great. Oh, Tim, man, miss that dude. Got to have you on next time, brother. Let's see. Just want to click consistent art style there. Oh, look at this. Someone's answering it. Itchy, Lumpy, and Yeah. Well, who's left? Labaka? You know, that we know. Crispy and stylish. Yeah. Well, yeah. And some people can think that way too on the new covers. Have you seen hey, Tim, I will. I promise you I will. We need to, I hate that we couldn't have you on when we had that Monarchs podcast reunion. So I definitely want to do that. That's definitely going to happen. The Japanese, have you seen the Japanese covers to like New Joe Order and stuff?
Yes, and I like them. I like getting to see all the characters. Some of the new Jedi Order covers, especially some of them, like, they're really CGI looking, like really, well, more photoshopped. I think it was like the fashion at the time for the covers. And I always like ones that are more like normal drawing. Like I really love Drew Struzan's covers for the Bantam era. So I really like the Japanese covers for the NJO. I just like getting to see everyone's faces. And I like how they consistently portray Mara. And I also like how, unlike any of the other covers, they seem to remember that Leia, had her head shaved in Balance Point. So when she appears in each subsequent cover, her hair starts out really short and slowly gets longer, which I was like, yes, no one else got that.
That is a great point I have never thought about before.
Yeah.
That's a great point. And you just sprung to mind my follow-up question from earlier. You were part of the forums, Star Wars forums and stuff like that. Okay. Now this is crazy because I was too. Now, I don't remember who I was, Jedi Master, whatever year it was when I signed up, 99 or whatnot. I don't remember what my call sign was, but we had probably talked in some of these forums too, because I loved those forums. I was commenting all the time. Those were some of my old memories that, we would argue about what was great about this book or what was bad about it. I was not a Karen Traviss fan. And when Karen Traviss would jump in there and say hello, I was very obnoxious, and those books are overrated. It's fan fiction, it feels like. And so she lovingly, not lovingly, called me and others tally fans, like the Taliban at the time, just tally fans, just coming in here, just causing destruction. And I deserved that name because I was very grumpy because people dumped on Kevin J. Anderson. Well, I'm going to dump on your favorite author, back in the day. But the 2000s and stuff like that, those early days, you got to talk to some authors. Leland Shee would come in, Super Stoney would come in, Stan Sansweet would come in. It's unbelievable. Is it unbelievable to think that that Leland Shee would respond to one of your comments?
Yeah, it was amazing because like I was a teenager and like I could show up in these threads and ask questions and they were like seriously answering my questions, and it just felt like, I don't know, there was like a sense of community in that early message board internet that not so much afterwards.
Yeah, there was a complete 180 by Lucasfilm, because when they and if Tim, if you're still on, when we were doing our podcast together, and that the Star Wars site had gone down. Well, I thought those forums were going to stay there because I used to hang out on the forum. That was the only thing I really checked. If you wanted to go see Star Wars news, you check the other Star Wars sites that would give you the rumors and stuff. Yeah. You can go. The only reason I went to StarWars.com was to participate in the forums. Well, they decided to wipe out all the forums. And when they did, I was like, and I remember exactly where I was because I think during one of our podcasts, Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we mentioned that, hey, the StarWars.com is back up. And I was like, oh, awesome, because I couldn't wait to get on the forums again. And I was like, oh, what happened? Where is it? Where is it? Gone, everything gone. And it was so weird because then that's when people stopped talking to us, Chi, Pablo, all those people. And Tim says that's correct. Yeah, I remember because Tim was with me actually. We were talking on Skype when this happened. I was like, oh no, because that was where a lot of my quotes about the expanded universe being canon came from. And I had made a few copies. Tim was back there in the day when I was making copies, and I was like, guys, y'all been on the 4 months. What's another comment I can grab? And I should have grabbed more. I had no idea that they were going. Someone is mocking. Oh, no, never mind. My good friend, my good Australian friend. See, I'm doxing him from another country, but my friend from down under. I met John's a good guy. John Bennigan's old restaurant here in the U.S., now extinct. One of the few restaurants I would eat anything off the menu. And to my knowledge, if there's one still in Dallas, someone correct me, because there was one in the U.S. that was in Dallas, but it's been ages since I've been there. I don't know if it's still there. But I was a big Bennigan's fan. Is there a store, off-topic fun question, is there a store or restaurant that you used to love that's not around anymore?
Oh, good question. Yes. There was a store that sold teenage girls' clothes called Delia's, and they would send out these catalogs, and I wanted to wear everything in them. And by the time they closed down, like I didn't want to wear their clothes anymore. I wasn't a teenage girl. But I remember when I heard that like they were going out of business, I wanted to cry because I just remembered those catalogs with like people like the daisies and the bell bottoms and the crop tops. And like that was what I wanted.
Everything you wanted
Oh
there.
my gosh. It was all that like 90s, early 2000s fashion that now I would not want to wear at all, but then I did.
Yeah, and I have a lot of these shirts. My favorite one I wore on my birthday 2 weeks ago was the TG&Y. That was an old five and dime store, kind of like Fred's. And stuff, and Dollar General is kind of what it was like, and it was only in certain areas. And I loved our TG&Y when I was a kid, and that just it was just perfect. And so my TG&Y shirt is my favorite. I don't think anyone outside my mom remembers that place. But Scott makes a good point here. Club Jade. Ooh, Scott. Brian, anyone. That's another, well, I don't know. We probably couldn't make that topic on our website. But yeah, Club Jade, really weird. Biggest supporter. I used to go to their channel a lot too. And then they were like getting negative on the EU. I was like, what are you guys doing? The whole point. They got really negative on the EU all of a sudden. I couldn't believe that. I remember, I think I wrote them and asked them, I said, what's the deal? They never responded back. But I was like, what's the deal with you guys?
Maybe they felt the same way I did after Sacrifice. Where it was
that's a good point.
Yeah.
And thank you. It's always fun. Ran the mile, but if you oh yeah, I know. That's why we're probably not going to do it. It's a bad idea. The moment I thought about it, the moment I erased it. You know how my mind works, Brian. Brian is privy to my most ingenious and awful idea. That he just shakes his head and goes, I don't even know why we're friends. Mad scientist idea. I wanted to, I think I got, oh yeah. So I want to talk about this. One last question here. What's on the future of your channel?
Yeah. So I'm almost halfway through the new Jedi Order. I am editing reviews right now of Edge of Victory, Rebirth, and Emissary of the Void, and I am rereading Star by Star for the first time in... I don't think I reread it after I read it for the first time because it was a lot. So that will be fun. And then I think after that, I want to go through... sort of by jumping from the Bantam era to the new Jedi Order, I like missed out on all that like prequel stuff that came out. So I think revisiting those, and then I'm gonna try to tackle the Legacy of the Force again. See if I can make it past book 5, which back in the day is when I gave up.
Okay, so you help me with more questions here. First off, how long does it take you to plot and plan, film, edit, and do a total review?
Yeah, so I would say I usually finish reading a book probably in like 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And then I give myself like a day or two to just sort of think about it. Because I find if I finish it and then immediately try to do a review, like I can't. Even though I have my notes, I can't talk.
Yeah.
And then editing it, that is usually just takes like one weekend day of just be able to sit down and do it. But I'm trying to, after last year where I literally was like, it felt like I'd finish reading a book, I'd edit it, I'd put it up, and then I have to start reading the next one. I'm trying to get a little ahead here so that like when a review comes out, I'm already on either the next book or the book after to give myself a little bit of breathing space. Yeah, I like doing one book a week, and right now it's one book every 2 weeks, and I don't know if I want to speed that back up because it does sometimes feel a little slow. But then also I think back to like last year, and it was like that got a little manic at the end.
That's awesome. And that's good. You do need that extra day to kind of go back over and review, give it some thought, let it settle. That's a good thing. Brian says, I'm just happy to say I'm the little shoulder angel, poofy angel shoulder. Yes, Brian, I'm always the poofy devil one too. You know that. Always the one thinking, but what if? And Brian goes, Matt, we're not doing that. Legacy of Four, such amazing stories. What was the other one I saw on here? I must have missed it. Yeah, Star by Star is a big one. That's correct. Star by Star is one of the biggest. I think that's the biggest book ever. The most pages for any Star Wars novel.
It's pretty long. The only other one I think might be as big as that is Outbound Flight by Timothy Zahn.
Really?
Is pretty hefty, but I think Star by Star is bigger.
Really? I did not realize that. Yeah, I think Star by Star is the biggest one.
At least in hardcover, Outbound Flight just sort of feels like, oh.
Heavy one. And I thought about my other question. It just jumped out at me there. You had mentioned the Star by Star. You mentioned how long it took. No, the talk. What was that question I had? See, folks, this is why we write things down. When we don't write things down, we forget about them. But anyway, okay, we'll just wrap it up there. Hey, thank you so much for being on here. This was a lot of fun. And obviously, I was going to say my viewers, these are your viewers. Big fans. I didn't even really have to introduce you. Everyone knows you. So for those of you who don't, you definitely got to check out her channel. She's doing these reviews. She's doing a solid job through them. I'm done. I may do something called re-review but I'm just going to copy what she does. But I love it. I think they're very insightful, and I love what you do. And thanks for doing it. And thanks for coming on and giving us your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for coming on here and welcoming Meg. And I know a lot of you wanted to see this, and I'm glad. Thank you, everyone, for actually bringing her channel to my attention and pushing me to have her on, because I wanted to have her on. So there's a lot of crossover appeal. That's right. This is the brains, and this is the jokes here. That's what we got. That's the crossover appeal there. But anyway, thank you, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful night, and definitely check out the Meg. The Meg. You put the Meg Star Wars, I'm sure your name would pop up too.
Oh, right? Yeah, probably.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Put in intelligent Star Wars book review, and her name will pop. My name won't even be on the first couple of pages if you do that. But anyway,